Good afternoon, good morning, everybody, wherever you are. My name is Corey Pitzer, and I'm the CEO of a company called SafeMap, and also the co-founder of a Safety on the Edge global forum. And it's a bit of a new exploration for me. I never thought that I would get into safety conferencing, but here we are. I had 2 years ago, I had a one day informal chat with a colleague, Malcolm Staves, the VP of Safety for L'Oreal, and we decided to do a little bit of a workshop on safety. And we thought, well, let's get 20 to 30 people together. And it just grew and grew, and it resulted in a really major event in Berkeley, California in April this year. And we started looking around, asking who are the real leaders out there in safety in the world of industry. And the first name that came to me was Kim Greene. I know Kim from 2016, 2017, and followed her career and supported Southern Company in different ways. And I just know what an amazing impact she had and is still having in the world of safety. And so we asked her to come to Safety on the Edge, which brings together pioneering thinkers, industry leaders, and then researchers to define and redefine the future of safety. And so we're looking really at innovation, bridging academia and industry, and to challenge fundamentals, challenge basic thinking, and really inspire leaders in the world of safety specifically. And so we had our conference in Berkeley, and again next year we'll have the second conference in Baltimore in May. And we have asked Kim to be the keynote speaker for that again because of popular demand. It was just amazing how the impact she made. So, by way of introduction today, Kim, we are joined by a leader whose vision is absolutely shaping the future of energy and redefining what it means to lead with purpose. That's the sentence I have in my mind. That's what describes Kim. She's the chairman, president, and CEO of Georgia Power, the largest subsidiary of Southern Company, more than 25,000 employees, I think, serving nearly 3 million customers across the state. And Kim specifically, she's been in industry, the energy industry, for nearly 3 decades. She's an engineer. She's an operational manager. She was in finance. She has absolutely built a remarkable career grounded in safety, sustainability, and people. And she's not only a leader of people in a traditionally male-dominated field, but she's also a passionate advocate for technologies, STEM education, and I think from my own experience for the next generation of leaders. And under her leadership of 6,000 people at Georgia Power, she is still driving and will continue to drive into the future amazing impact, amazing change in the energy industry. Kim, you're a leader, an engineer, and a visionary. Which one of those 3 titles do you prefer the best?
Oh, goodness, Corey, that is such a glowing introduction. I'm really embarrassed because you set a high bar for everybody who's watching or listening, and I hope that I can even partly live up to it all. It's really a privilege to know you. And yes, over the last decade, I have learned so much from you. It's been a privilege to help Southern Company and the electric utility industry along our journey to safety. It's a continuous journey. We've never really arrived, but I do know that we've made great progress over the past decade, and you've been very much a reason for that. So thank you so much. And again, thanks for having me on this podcast today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kim. Kim, safety, I know, is central in your life and in the way that you lead your organization. What does safety mean to you personally? And why did you choose to share your personal safety journey with us at Safety on the Edge?
Well, if I really go back to my days as a even a young person, a child, a teenager, I always had a heart for trying to help people. If somebody fell on the playground, I wanted to bandage their wound, or if someone had a bad day, I wanted to try to make them feel better. And I think that ultimately sort of manifested itself in a desire to help make people's lives better. And people who are healthy and well are happy and able contributors to our society and our communities. And I think I think maybe you're just born with that to some extent. And then as I found myself ultimately moving from originally a desire to be a doctor, but not able to really withstand seeing all the the shots and the blood, unfortunately. I moved into engineering, and it was biomedical engineering in the beginning, applying the principles of engineering to the medical industry. And then ultimately I came to, it's a bit of a long story, but I came to work in the power company. And that desire to help make people's lives better was certainly met by the fact that working for an energy company, providing a product that makes everybody's life better, is something that meant a lot to me and really satisfied that desire that I had for making people's lives better. And that energy, of course, is provided by human beings who work at power plants, who work in our transmission and distribution areas of the business. They are the people climbing the poles, working in substations. Again, people working in power plants among high pressure, high temperature environments that can be full of hazards. And so it was very important for me as a young engineer working. I started in power plants. And the importance of working safely in those environments was certainly imposed on me, embedded in every job that I did, and I appreciated that, and recognized early on that this industry, while it provides so much good for so many people, can result in people getting seriously injured and having life-altering injuries and unfortunately even life-ending injuries. And so that was something that I always took very seriously in trying to understand how to prevent personally being injured and as well helping my team stay safe. So to me, when I think about safety, it's really about the ability for all of our employees to remain safe and well, physically, mentally, psychologically. It's really, I think, a broad umbrella, but having the ability every day to go home to your family or to your community the way that you came to the office or to your workplace that morning. And that sounds very simple at the highest level, but it actually can be quite complicated and is so important for all employees, the leaders, all employees throughout an organization to embrace and recognize that we are all responsible for ensuring the safety and wellness of all of ourselves and our employees.
Right. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I can only sense that too, because I went to study medical for 2 years until I ended up in a hospital in my first practical. I just couldn't stand it anymore, and I said, "No, I don't want to be at this end of the human being. I'd rather be at the front end where they are, where I can make them happy, not healthy afterwards."
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm very thankful for the people in the medical profession who do that, but it needed to be something a little different for me and you too. So I'm glad to know that.
Yeah, yeah. Kim, you made a very impactful statement, and it had been repeated by many people after that presentation that you made at Berkeley. And the statement was this: in 2024, our TRIR was the highest in 20 years. Yet I believe we are safer than ever. People just talk about that a lot, and it means, I mean, it's a very complex statement, but can you unpack that a little bit? Why that statement made sense to you and should make sense to other people?
Sure, and I'll try to keep my first answer concise because there's really a lot in there, as you mentioned, and we can continue to explore it and unpack it. But ultimately, our company, probably 15 years ago or so, was very focused on TRIR. And in fact, the goal was for there to be zero injuries, zero harm. And, at the highest level, that sounds very reasonable and, like a worthy goal
Yeah.
for there to be zero injuries, zero recordables. But what actually had been happening over years is that I believe we had become so focused on all of this, the more minor issues, more minor injuries, and we had lost focus on the more significant injuries. And I had the privilege to work with a woman when I moved into a role in 2014 as Southern Company's Chief Operating Officer, responsible for uh, the generation, the transmission, the engineering, the sort of more operations part of the business. Um, I I worked with a woman who had begun a master's degree program at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, master's in advanced safety engineering and management. And she began to educate me on the importance of and the fact that those work activities or those issues that are leading to the not as serious injuries are not the issues that are likely going to lead to a serious injury or fatality. And so at our company, and I would just say, and in much of the electric utility industry, as an industry, we were very focused on, I'd say, stamping out all of the small things. And so TRIR was coming down as an industry, but serious injuries and fatalities were maintaining the same level of incidents as before.
Mm.
So while we were bringing down TRIR, we really were not making a dent in serious injury and fatality prevention. And so we began to recognize that we were trying to stamp out all the small things, and we're really over tilted, over focused on those small things and not paying attention to what we now call critical risks, which are those activities that are more likely to result in a serious injury or fatality. And so over again, the past decade, we have changed a lot of our principles and our activities and our governance around how we measure safety, how we pay people for being safe, what are our corporate goals, how leaders behave when someone does get hurt. And so ultimately, again, I believe that while our TRIR went up, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that we had created an environment, again, we were paying people for a low TRIR. And so
Yeah.
what really was happening, unfortunately, because we have a lot of very ethical people, but people were being hurt, but it was something that they could live with. And because they didn't necessarily want to ruin a pay goal or a biscuit breakfast for everybody when people were celebrating, people just were not reporting. And so thanks to you coming in, and we did a safety survey, and we heard from a lot of our employees that leadership, while they thought leaders truly did care, at the end of the day, we really weren't behaving in a way that was creating an environment where people felt psychologically safe to be able to say, I'm hurt, here's what happened. And so again, today, we're much more focused on the serious injury and fatality prevention. And certainly we don't want anybody to get hurt, but we recognize that if we were spending too much energy on the small things, not enough energy on the big things. And now over time, we have lowered our serious injury incident rate. people are safer. We have a workforce who truly believes that leadership cares and wants to help and want to learn from if we have an incident, we have it recordable, what can we learn from it instead of how can we punish the person
Yeah,
who might have gotten hurt. And unfortunately, there was plenty of that going on. So again, I feel like our culture has progressed from one where there was more secrecy and fear and not much information percolating for us to benefit from to a culture that is much more open and transparent, a learning environment, a caring environment, where people are more educated and embrace and have ownership of critical risks and making sure that we're focused on the right things.
absolutely. Yeah. It is such a complex iteration of feelings and dynamics in a company, from the perspective where you are, you in your heart, I don't want anybody to be hurt in any way.
Right.
And then, when that kind of message goes out, people, as you say, people want to uh, be good to the organization. They want to serve the organization, so they're going to hide information away in order to make it happen. And it is such a complex thing. And I've actually, I've done so much thinking about this whole thing about zero. And everybody agrees this, as you said, it is something that we all want, but we can't make it happen in practice. And somebody said to me one day, and I think it's a quote that he or she got from somewhere, that zero is like the stars for mariners of the old days. They know they would never reach the stars, but they track their journey with the stars. And I think that's, to me, what I when I engage with you, that I know in your heart you really want zero injuries to anybody, but you know what you just said. But your actions, your behaviors are defined by that desire, by that deep belief in your heart. And is that a fair reflection?
Oh, absolutely. I do want to make sure that everybody is free from injury, and I want to do everything I can to protect people. But I've also learned much more, again, over the last decade about the fact, of human performance, the fact that humans are fallible. We are human beings, we're flesh and blood, we are not perfect. And
Mm,
so, well, certainly we want to train our employees and we expect each and every one of us to, um, do the things that are going to ensure to the greatest extent possible that we're able to work safely. But when um, a decision or a system doesn't work as we expect it to, which is also reality, that we have levels of protection and factors of safety, and that we have controls that are going to also help keep everyone safe. And I mean, 10, 15 years ago, we embraced, well, at least at our company, uh, the um, the ideas of behavior-based safety. And again, this is, I think, at the highest level, something that sounds reasonable, sounds worthy, that if people are trained and make the right decisions that and behave in the appropriate way, the right way, that they'll stay safe. But again, what we heard from our employees clearly, thanks to your survey and the way it is provided and the way the feedback is received, that our employees recognize that as much as they are trying to work perfectly, that sometimes humans and sometimes systems just don't work perfectly. And so we've got to think about safety, as you say, it's from a much more complex set of systems, that it's not just the worker, it's not just the behavior, but it is actually systems, and it is leadership, and it is levels of safety. It's not just one element or one dimension. And so that's why I think you and I completely agree that this is something that takes ownership from all levels of the organization, and it starts from the beginning. Even you mentioned I'm an engineer. I'm very proud of some of the equipment and systems that I've designed for the power plants in this company that still operate today. And I mean, I will say that I thought a little bit about it 35 years ago, actually. I almost started
Right.
35 years ago. But now I really talk to our engineers about designing with safety in mind from the very beginning. What is not necessarily just the most efficient design that's going to solve the challenge or the problem that you're working to solve, but think about how it's going to operate in its environment, in the power plant. If it fails, is it going to fail inward or outward? Is the likelihood of something happening going to impact a person who's walking by or not? And anyway, so it really starts from the very beginning. And of course, the principles of human performance. And I like to use the example of my husband, who is a pilot. He's flown airplanes for a living. And we had a plane, and it was a single engine plane with a single pilot in the front. I'd sit in the back, and people would ask me, "Aren't you afraid?" I would say, "No, not at all." Because even though he's taken off and landed that airplane thousands of times, he still uses a checklist, right? I think that's a human
Yeah.
performance tool. It's a great example. And we can't expect that people are going to perform perfectly every single time. So providing human performance tools, I think, is so valuable in letting people know that the expectation is that they'll use these tools, not that they're a crutch or a sign of weakness. They're actually a sign of strength. So again, it's quite complex. And again, we've still got a long ways to go, but I am very proud about where we've gone. And I know that statement that you started with a minute ago sounds quite hard to believe and sounds maybe even a little bit naive, but it's based on the impact, excuse me, the input from our employees. And I will say the impact that our shift in our philosophies and how we are approaching safety today compared with how we did it 15 years ago,
Yeah.
it's making a difference.
Well, it all comes to, in the end, comes to this word of leadership. And I remember after that culture survey, there was an introduction of all the leaders in Southern Company attended this half-day session with me as part of the pay-go. And I had this privilege. I remember there were 294 leaders of Southern Company that spent sessions with me 4 or 5 at a time for a half a day. So I got this deep insight into the leaders of Southern Company. And what the common denominator for me was this: they were all passionate. There wasn't one person that I encountered there that wasn't passionate about people and about safety. And that's the secret sauce. And I still don't know what is it about Southern Company. There has to be something. And I want to ask you if you could put your finger on that. What is it about Southern Company's leadership that is so powerful and so progressive that makes that difference happen?
Wow. Um, well, I'm not sure I can answer that simply, but maybe the most concise way I can think about it is that's been the expectation of leaders at this company for decades. And so many of us have spent our entire careers here. And even if you didn't spend your entire career here and you come to our company, the expectation that our customers and we say our customers are at the center of everything we do. And we have a set of values. And those 4 values are, number one, safety first. And let me just also say, we talk about our values all the time.
Mm,
These are not just words on a page. So safety first, intentional inclusion, act with integrity, and superior performance. And those values are talked about every single day. We have safety moments, we have intentional inclusion moments. We certainly talk about acting with integrity and superior performance all of the time. And so many of us have been around, I guess, long enough to see examples in the industry or examples in the world where maybe the focus that is too great on the bottom line, doesn't ultimately create a long-lasting culture and a long-lasting successful business. And we like to say we're bigger than our bottom line. And in fact, we pride ourselves in making communities better because we're there. And we call ourselves, citizens wherever we serve. And so this culture of caring about each other, from safety and our well-being, culture of caring for our communities, it's ingrained in our DNA from the day we walk in the door. And literally today, I actually had the opportunity to speak to a group of new employees. And I talk with them about our values and how meaningful they are to us, and set the expectation that this is the way we manage, the way we lead, and we expect it from all of our employees. And so I think that maybe the people who, for whatever reason, don't feel that that's right for them, they find their way somewhere else to a culture that is maybe more aligned with what they care about. But if you're going to lead here at Southern Company, you grew up understanding that, and it's just built into how you operate.
Yeah, yeah, amazing.
And and I'm sorry, I'm gonna just also say there that this business is a complicated, challenging business. And the other thing I just want to highlight is that as our company has done a lot of challenging work over the years, whether it's building a new nuclear plant, which we're the only utility, Georgia Power, in fact, with our partners, Oglethorpe and MEAG and the city of Dalton, only utility to build brand new operating nuclear units from scratch in the last 30 years. And we've had a lot of other challenges with storm recovery and what's happening with the economy. And when everyone is aligned on what your values are and your goals are, I think that just creates a culture of teamwork, responsibility, accountability to each other that I also think really matters. And we get through it, and it's hard, but it makes you stronger. And when you've been in the trenches with some people, you continue to build that trust. And again, I think that matters as well.
Absolutely, it does, and it brings the subject of working and living through and leading people through crises as defining moments. Are there moments of crisis or personal experiences that shaped or reshaped your thinking, how you think about safety?
Wow. Well, there are lots of them. And I mean, most recently, of course, this began years ago to shape my response and sort of how we lead through crisis. But a little over a year ago, Hurricane Helene barreled through the state of Georgia. It also went into the Carolinas and created unbelievably horrible flooding. But through the state of Georgia, it carved a 100-mile swath from Valdosta, which is in the southwest part of the state, up to Augusta in the northeast part of the state. And we knew that that storm was going to be strong. It ended up being the most damaging storm to Georgia Power ever. And in fact, the damage exceeded the amount of damage from three other hurricanes, Hurricane Michael, Irma, and Matthew. Helene's damage was more than those three hurricanes combined. And when people are suffering in communities and our own employees are suffering because they have lost power, they might have lost their homes, they could have lost, a family member's business. And, when what leadership needs to do right then, at least from my perspective, is be present, listen, supportive, ensure that our people have the tools that they need to do the jobs that they need to do. And in this case, when people don't have their electricity, it's a really, really bad day. I mean, people can't begin to recover and put their lives back together until the lights get back on. And our employees feel that desire to restore electricity as quickly as possible. And the one thing that, I mean, they're putting a ton of pressure on themselves to work quickly. And the message that I had for them was to work safely. Make sure that you're not too tired, that you're not cutting corners, that you don't feel pressured by, what might be going on around you, or, a business owner or a local official or whatever. I wanted our employees and everybody who came to help us, because we relied on the employees of many other utilities, and I'm very grateful for all of them for sending resources to Georgia for our customers and our communities. But I wanted to make sure that they knew that I would take the pressure off. I wanted to take the pressure off of them. If someone was unhappy about our speed of response, I would take that pressure off of them. I did not want them to feel undue pressure to work so quickly that meant they weren't going to be safe, because again, they put a ton of pressure on themselves to do that. And I want to make sure that they know I've got their backs and I support them. And look, in the entire industry, we're hiring younger and younger, employees, people who are new to our business. Even people who've been around for 30 years sometimes can, miss something. But a lot of our young people, I just want to make sure that they don't make a bad assumption. I know that they're all trying to work as quickly as possible, but I wanted them to make sure that they were deliberate, thoughtful, well rested, because while it took us 8 days to restore power to 95% of our customers, if we had had a serious injury or worse, a life-altering or life-ending situation, that would have, of course, would have been even worse.
Yeah.
Even worse. And as proud as I am of all of our operational success and financial performance, if somebody loses their life, nothing else matters. Nothing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Kim, the future of safety, the future of Southern Company, if you lift your head over the horizon, your eyes over the horizon, what would be, in your mind, the biggest challenges that you can think of to come your way, and how would you approach that as a CEO from your position?
Well, I think the biggest challenge, again, has to do with the fact that we're hiring so many young people into our industry. And we have, for example, I mean, many of us have coal-fired plants that we were planning to retire, and so maybe people were retiring from that, and we weren't hiring the people for the longer term because we didn't expect there to be a longer term. Well, now we're seeing unprecedented growth in this industry, onshoring, manufacturing returning to the United States, AI, data centers are leading to incredible growth. And so a lot of assets that may have been considered for retirement down the road are now going to continue to operate. And so we've got to make sure that all of our employees coming into this industry, coming into our business, are grounded in those elements around safety, and they understand that when we say safety first, nothing else matters more than your safety, that they get that. And so, people sometimes ask me if I lose sleep at night over anything. And certainly we have plenty of challenges ahead of us with what's happening from a policy perspective or the economy and uncertainty, even globally. And I have confidence that we'll navigate all of that. But bringing all these new people into this business, and I just look at some of these people who are younger than my own daughters, and I want to make sure that they understand that they can have a 30 and 40-year career here and work safely and provide a great upbringing for their own families. And so I think it's just like there is just a tsunami. We at Georgia Power this year have hired over 2,000 employees. You talked about the fact that we have we've got about 6,800 employees. Now we have people who Southern Company is big, and we have people who move on to different roles, and we have people who retire. I mean, we have a lot of retirement eligible folks. So bringing all of these folks on. And so again, I think it's ensuring that they understand the elements of being risk aware, that they understand that safety is not the absence of injury, but the presence of controls, that they understand that they can stop when they're unsure, that and how high energy environments create, certain risks for them that they need to be aware of. They need to be aware of, the type of work that they do and where there are greater risks of being injured. And so but I'm happy to say that I think we are continuing to learn and evolve the science of safety and understand more about those high hazard environments and high energy environments and controls that are available and how to train and again, having the right culture. So I feel like we have such a bright future. It's a more exciting time than ever to be in the energy industry. You don't pick up a newspaper or turn on a television without hearing about energy. I mean, we're at the center of everything. So I'm very excited about that. But again, I think it's just more important than ever that we double down on our training and our communication from leaders all across the organization to ensure that everybody feels comfortable and understands what is most important to all of us.
What an incredible challenge, whether young people, they have such different ideas about life and about where they want to work. Utilities is a tough industry. It's hard work, and it's like the hard, engineering type of thing. I'm sure there's going to be challenges to get those people. And do you find challenges? Do people not have a positive view of the utility industry?
Corey, it's really exciting because we do not have trouble finding people.
Really?
We just posted for a group of new linemen. We had like 10 positions. We had something like 2,000 applicants.
Wow.
And so, and I take great pride in the fact that Georgia Power and look, most utilities across the country are really viewed as wonderful employers. And I think there is a greater focus, and it's certainly we're doing this in Georgia and reaching into the high schools and educating the teachers and the guidance counselors about a variety of different industries, and certainly ours being one that we're very interested in, and introducing young people to the work at a power plant or the work of a lineman. And so we're actually not having trouble finding people. Now, having said that, I mean, it's a huge effort. And we have a workforce development organization that is a well-oiled machine. And like I said, we work with our state and local officials for workforce development. But it's a great business. And now I think more than ever, when you think about that, like you said, the young people, they want to make a difference in the world. They want to do something that matters. And I think maybe now more than in a long time, the provision of energy and the importance of energy in our economy and our daily lives is more prevalent than it's ever been. And so, and the desire for clean energy options is certainly something that a lot of young people care about. And so we need them. We need the engineers and the line workers, and we need the accountants and the human resources professionals. So there's something for everybody here at your local power company.
Yes, yeah. Well, there's something very positive about the future. I'm very excited about the future. If you think about just the incredible technologies that's coming our way, and it's an incredible, exciting time. And if you think about internationally, the recent peace in the Middle East, or the progress towards that, it's almost as if there's a new vibe going on in the world, and it's like something we really want to support. And I think young people are getting that vibe too.
We're definitely seeing that. So but I know what you mean. I think probably 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we were very worried about what I just mentioned earlier, the fact that we were more of an aging industry and a lot of people were retiring, and there just really wasn't the growth that we're seeing today. But it's a vibrant industry with a lot of growth and a lot of really wonderful challenges, fun challenges to solve with great people.
Wonderful. To come to one final question, and a little bit back to safety, a little bit back to being a leader. A lot of people listen to our podcasts, and there's a lot of supervisors, young people who are becoming supervisors and getting into those roles. What advice would you give to any listener like that, especially a frontline supervisor where you've been one day in your career? What would you think? What would you say to them to make them an inspiration to other people like you have been? What is your advice?
My advice would be for all of the supervisors to really have a heart-to-heart conversation with everybody that is on their team and ensure that they know that you care about them. Your job is to help them be safe and successful, and that nothing matters more to you than their personal safety. Not a budget, not a schedule. And that means that sometimes a budget might go badly, a schedule might go badly, but you've got to support your team and ensure that you're educating them, supporting them, that you feel personally responsible for them, and that you take the extra effort to get to know them and make sure that they know that you are there for them. I believe the principles of servant leadership are utmost. And as leaders, we are not here for ourselves. We are here for others. And I think that at that first level is the time when you need to make sure that that's very clear. And again, that your focus on safety is clear, and that then you actually follow through on what you say, and that you support them in times when they need to be supported.
Well, you've said so many different things in there that all come together in a beautiful way. I care about you. I'm not here for myself. I'm here for you. You're here for others. And it is, I think, a beautiful summary of leadership, of you in so many ways, because I know if I speak to anybody around you, I know that they know you care about them first and foremost. And I think that's the definition of leadership in the end. So, Kim, it was just absolutely wonderful to have this discussion with you, a bit of an insight into what makes a leader in so many ways. And you are that for so many people. And I know you from a long time. I know you're an absolute inspiration to others. And I can't wait for Baltimore next year in May, when you'll be the keynote speaker for us again. And I know that what message you will have for us is a reflection of who you are as a person and as a human being. So thank you so much for this time you spend with us. And again, we'll see you next year.
Wonderful. And Corey, thank you so much for what you do, because we couldn't do what we do without you. Look, we're well intended and we're learning a lot, but you are helping us along this journey with the guidance that we need, the support we need, the science that we need to help us be as good as we can be as we are traveling, navigating this journey. So thanks to you, thanks to SafeMap, and I look forward to seeing everybody soon.
Thank you, Kim.
Take care.